Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this program about your Kundalini awakening experiences. My name is Chrism, and I'm your host for this program. And very soon I will be joined by my co-host for this program as well. And I just want to say that it's a very interesting thing to have the Kundalini come upon you and to make changes within you, and to all of a sudden have the landscape, the inside landscape, changed so radically, so quickly, and so permanently without you ever having to crack a book or to go to a school or to, listen to a teacher or a preacher or a guru or anything like that. And let me be very, very clear about one thing. Kundalini does not require you to be under the tutelage of a guru or a priest or a minister or a professor or a scientist or a shaman or anybody. Kundalini will come up in you all by itself without any exterior influence or any exterior kind of triggering mechanism, be it flesh or other material. Kundalini is an intelligent force of its own, and it knows when it's time to break forth into the individual. When that individual has reached a level of karmic ability in order to metabolize these changes, and through that metabolizing, allowing the transformation to take place. And I'm going to go over here to the chat room. We do have a chat room here, and I would like to do a little bit of a sound check. So any of the guests there, guest 751 or 741 or 735, if you can let us know just touch your keyboard. Put the cursor in that little window and type away a little bit, and let us know if we're coming through loud and clear to you. And I'm going to say hello to everybody. Here we are. Hello, everyone. And so, yeah, Kundalini does not require some of these things that some of the cultures expect of it. But right now, before I go any further, and because she's in the red, I would like to introduce Santara Kundalini, who does not want to wait for my grandiose introduction, but she wants to jump right in. Go ahead.
I don't, actually. That red came spontaneously there. I thought you did it.
No.
I was in the chat room. I was going to say to you anyway that your sound was excellent until you went to the chat room. So did you move around or something? Because then it started to break up.
Boy, I tell you, it's an ever unfolding mystery here with with Blog Talk. I had to switch pages, right? I had to go out of the studio.
Again now.
That changes the sound. So I'm going to try right now. Okay, just a second. I want you to pay attention.
It started. Whatever you did there, listen, it already started to go, la, 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 la.
Well, I'm still in the studio.
Okay.
Okay, so I don't know what's causing it to go wah, wah, wah. Is it like a breakup?
You're fine again. No, you're fine again. You're fine again, Chrism. I get the feeling it's a movement thing, that you move or you move away from your mic or something. I don't know. It's fine. It's coming across really clear now.
Okay. All right. I'll just continue and hope for the best. Could
Vicky
be
is there.
computer
Vicky, can you type in?
Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, we fairly commonly we have to do these little bits of sound check because this is an internet based studio that they give us here, and the sound is not always what you'd get at a radio station. And even though they kind of they try to make it look like a radio station, it's a blog talk radio, and they give you this on-air red sign and how much time you have left and all this stuff. But the sound quality doesn't always get maximized to the point where a radio station would give it to you. So we do these little sound checks here. And Centaura, has she indicated? I'm afraid to go check the chat room now.
Yes. So far, all sounds good since she came on. And here's Michelle. Hi, Michelle.
Okay. Maybe you can write out those highs and hellos. I'm going to go ahead and continue.
Okay.
Here we go. We'll do this. Yeah, sometimes blog talk radio has a mind of its own. So we got to kind of go through this at the beginning of the show, so that if there's any corrections that we can do on our end, that we have the time to do them. So as I was saying before, Kundalini will come of its own. You don't need to have a sannyasin. You don't need to have some holy man or holy woman come over you and give you Shaktipat. Shaktipat also works. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to say Shaktipat doesn't work. I've been given Shaktipat, for over 10 years now, and it does work. But let's just say, you live in an area where you're unable to receive a Shaktipat, but you still want to work with the Kundalini. Well, then you do the safety protocols, and you just allow the Kundalini within you to respond to those safety protocols. And you can reach the safeties at www.kundalinisafeties.com, and that'll take you straight to a website that tells you how to practice the safety protocols and gives you some more information on top of that. And as you do that, the Kundalini will come of its own. Now, don't get me wrong. It can be a very, very huge blessing to have someone who's walked the path before you help you understand what those colorful little orbs are, and oh my gosh, is that 6-inch man I saw standing on the edge of my bed real, or am I going crazy? Things of that type can really shock the system for an individual, and it's good to be able to hear information that corroborates what you're feeling, what you're seeing, what you're hearing, and so, but you don't, a lot of these cultures, the Hindu culture in particular, will push its discernments into anybody. It says, well, you have to have a very experienced sannyasin or a holy person in order to help you with your Kundalini, or it just won't work. They're very absolutist about it, and this is just not true. And I want to make that clear, right? I am not a Hindu. I did not have a sannyasin. I did not have a Taoist teacher. I did not have a Tibetan scholar or a monk or a what do they call those other guys? One of those other guys, because they can't be gals. They have to be patriarchal. But I didn't have any help from any flesh-based organism. Just the Kundalini. Just the Kundalini came. Nobody at the time it came through me. Nobody had told me what that was. Nobody had, there was no information, no books. The internet was still brand new, so I have to tell you how old I am. There were very few cell phones. I think at that time the cell phone was like a huge, like army type phone, and you'd have to pull the antenna up, and it was like $5 a minute or $100 a minute, something like that. And it was put out by a company called Cellular One. And the company that I worked for, the CEO, he had a cell phone, and he was the only one who could really afford it. But that's when mine came up, and turning your spine into a serpent, and that's a strange feeling. Let me tell you, that's a very strange feeling. Anyway, so don't get sucker punched by these folks that are saying, oh, well, you have to have a sannyasin, a minister, a holy person, a holy nun come in, and if you have that happen, then everything should go well. Now, as far as a holy nun goes, if you have somebody like Rosemary with you, well, then I think things will just go well because of her radiance. You can just stand next to her at the post office, stand in line, and have your Kundalini come, and things should go well because she has all of that positive energy and that outflow of radiant love. And so does Joanne Frost, and whose time of year it is coming into right now in Minnesota. And here we have rain, and if it got cold enough, it would turn frosty. So I'd like to welcome Joanne Frost and Rosemary Goliath to the program. And we also have Katie Galerno in the host channel here, and she's listening on her telephone. Hello, Katie. And then, of course, Santaro. So to begin this program, Kundalini is standalone. It does not require a man or a woman, holy or not, to come up to you and go, okay, you can have the Kundalini now. And there's, as I mentioned before, there's this cultural thing that some societies will put forward, and they'll send very absolutist, and this is the way it is, and this is the only way it is, and that's just the way it is. And this is not so at all. There are 9 million pathways up the mountain, and 9 million different ways to receive the Kundalini, different patterns of activation, different patterns of awakening. The patterns that I like to really push forward to people that I feel are the safest patterns are, as many of you have heard before, the bottom to top pattern, going from the base of the spine to the top of the head at the fontanelle. And I feel that these are the best and safest pathways to take. And, I keep saying that word, safety and safe, and it might put into your mind the question of, well, is it dangerous? Is exploring the Kundalini a danger to me? No, it's not. But just like walking on the street, you can encounter other life forms, other consciousness, other levels of existence that will cause you to have to learn how to interact, shall we say. You might have to step around that boulder. You might have to, climb over a tree. You might have to cross a river or a creek, or you might have to jump across an abyss to some degree. And these are the things that, when they happen to us in the Kundalini land, they're quite a bit different than how we are able to perceive them in the corporeal land. Kundalini land has levels of rules and understandings that are quite different from our 5 sense physical environment. And yet there are also many, many, many reflections of the 5 sense physical environment within what I'm calling Kundalini land, which is the behind the veil landscape, behind the veil environment. And to talk a little bit about that, when you have the Kundalini come up to you, you may start seeing orbs of light. Some of these orbs, if you're in a historical area like I was able to photograph some orbs in Ireland, where Santara lives, and we were in one of the castles of the O'Connor Kings, and I was taking pictures of what would have been one of the major royal rooms that now doesn't have a ceiling and is open to the air and everything. But still, there were remnants of entities that were connected to that time. And by entity, I mean a soul or a spirit or a consciousness of an individual that was connected to that ruin and probably having a karmic connection or a karmic debt being paid. So they're tied to the area. And you're able to take a picture of these things, which means that, and I believe this is digital photography. And so they're coming up on digital photography. And these are actual things. These are actual things that move out of the vibrational frequency of what your human eye can see, except within certain circumstances. So even though I couldn't see that orb of that individual there in the daytime, I think it was around 3 or 4 in the afternoon. And I'm going to bring her on because I can't remember the name of that place. Do you remember the name of that place, Santara? That place where we took the pictures? Not shot or shot. We're
Not
talking
sharp.
about in Ireland. It was the first castle you took me to, and it was the home, one of the main areas of the O'Connor Kings. And there was that beautiful other ruin off in the distance that we later went to at another time. Did a few videos.
Oh, you're talking about Cashel.
About who?
The Rock of Cashel.
Yeah. Oh, Cashel, like a cashew, right?
Yeah. Is it the one that was up on the rock, and we went down to the Benedictine or one of these monasteries later?
It was made, and the entire castle was made out of cashew shells, right?
Yeah. Yummy. I think that's the one you mean. Is with the Kings of Munster. It's not quite the O'Connor Kings.
I knew it was some sort of a cheese. I knew it was some sort of a cheese.
You're being very foodie today, Kristen.
I was thinking it's like the Kings of Mayonnaise. No, that's not it. It's got something else, something with an M.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one. And in these royal rooms, they actually kept their dead embedded in the walls of these royal rooms, and so you would have like your great Aunt Jenny, she'd have been entombed inside the wall. Do you remember seeing those tombs?
They're buried on the ground or in the walls sometimes. Yeah. Quite normal practice at the time.
And these castles go back at least 1,000 years, don't they, or something like that?
Yeah, a long time. Yeah.
Right, and so that entity had been kind of, there for quite some time, and that kind of tells you what a karmic bond can do with a person's soul, depending, of course, on the activity that person participated in. I'm being given to ask you if the people in the chat room are still able to hear. Santara,
yes, the people in the chat room will let us know, Chrism, if it gets bad, and I'm watching. Okay. It's fine.
Thank you. So these orbs, these orbs come in different shapes and different sizes and different levels of brilliance. The typical Kundalini orb, you don't have to be in a holy building or a ruin, a ruined castle or anything. You can just be there and you're sitting in your living room or in your bedroom or in your car, and this brilliant, beautiful, lit up diamond-like sun, about the size of a pinhead, but really, really bright, comes floating straight into your visual range, and it's so bright that you can't see a figure. It's just this bright orb, and they come in the different colors of the rainbow. Lots of time they're blue, lots of time they're white, and they can be distinguished away from, say, other forms of Kundalini energy that are teardrop in shape. And if you do a certain kind of spinal twist, you can release some of those energetic forms into your visual field as well. And they're actually a lot more, for me anyway, they're far more, there's many of them. I mean, there's many individuals. It's like looking at teardrop shaped fish just kind of swimming in random directions, but they're very, very bright, and they leave kind of a streamer behind them. That's another type of energetic particle or consciousness that you can see by virtue of the Kundalini. And these lit up orbs or suns, what I call a Kundalini sun. They're with you for a while. You won't be surprised. After a while, you kind of see them. You go, oh, wow, that's beautiful. And as they come in the different colors. Sometimes you may find them embedding themselves inside one of your eyes, and this becomes a pearl, one of the Kundalini pearls. And it's typically the blue ones that will do that. And I've got about 8 inside of my eyes right there. And I have a picture of Dopey from the Snow White and the Seven Dwarves, and they did an interesting drawing of him when he was swooning from the beauty of Snow White. They literally drew him with 6 different eyes per eye, on both sides of his head. And I thought that looks very familiar to me. And, one of these days, if I can find that picture again, I'll definitely post it. These light experiences, they're friendly. They're not there to hurt you. They're bright. They're warm. They're beautiful. And they're a part of you now. They're a part of the energetic anatomy of your Kundalini activation or awakening. And they'll come whether you're in the activation or the awakening. And of course, the difference between the two is the activation leads one up to divine merge, and the awakening is the result of the divine merge. And so what we have right there is kind of a triangle. You're starting from an activated standpoint where you have a very, very strong level of contrast to the energy that's coming through you. So you're feeling everything very, very strongly due to that contrast. But as you acclimate to the energy, and as that energy matures itself within you and you acclimate to it, well, then the contrast goes down, and you start feeling the different levels of phenomena in a lighter way, in an easier way, unless there's a karmic agenda for you to make those kriyas really, really strong or really, really electrical. And if that's the case, then, well, you will indeed, feel the strength of the Kundalini for however long she deems that it's necessary for you to feel it. Okay. And that goes across the board with all the different phenomena. But typically, and I mean typically, a person will experience a kind of graduation where, as they acclimate to the phenomena, i.e., by acclimation, I mean they're no longer really, really frightened of it. They're kind of happy with it in a way, and they're embracing it and moving with it, and it's kind of a cool thing with them. They're going, oh yeah, this is very cool. I can do this, and so they move through their kriyas, or they move through the entity minefield, and they're continuing to mature upon their journey within the Kundalini. The phenomena can get softer and softer and softer until it moves to another stage. That next stage may be, very, very heavy vibrations inside of the bones, inside of the body. These heavy vibrations are so strong, and it feels kind of like you're having an internal earthquake. But these energies are, it's an energy of transformation, and the substructure of the skeletal anatomy are being are being changed or being transformed, and these vibratory sweeps or rates that a person may feel are part of that process. And that can go on for a while as well. And so, it's a very, very, very beautiful, elongated process of transformation into divinity. So, and because you're keeping the body intact, it's semi-divinity. But it's an unlimited level of semi-divinity. So, for instance, we think, 50% human, 50% divine. Well, then that's that. And there's 100%, and that's all we get. Well, no. It is definitely 50-50, but you can make it 50-60. You can make it 50, 2,670. I mean, as far as your Kundalini will allow you to go and still allow you to keep the flesh body, it's how far you can go with it. And so I don't want you to think that there's any limitation on how deep you can go into the divine structure. Okay, there's a level of infinity to the Kundalini. It's like you're touching infinity and you're ingesting infinity, and you're part of what it is to be an ever unfolding level of creative evolution. And that evolution is going off into infinity. It's a very beautiful thing to have the Kundalini and to feel those levels of infinity unfolding and then acclimating and then reaching out and diametrically absorbing levels of infinity as you expand the orb of grace that you are. You're an orb too. Amelia's a cashew orb. She's got the cashew thing going. Cashel rock. All right, Amelia, I want you to go ahead and say hello to the people again as if I had just introduced you.
Hello, everybody. This is Santara, and I am delighted to be here. So that's me. Okay. What else, Chrism?
Tell them what you did today.
Well, really? Do you need me to tap dance? Because I can do that. Well, I will go and speak about the...
No, let's hear some tap dancing. I'm just curious what you come up with.
I'm actually going to go to donations, if that's okay. I'm going to give everybody
Sure, go ahead.
I'm going to give people the donation sites that they can go to. So, okay, guys, if you would like to make a donation, and if you can afford to make a donation, no matter how small, it would be very, very welcome. You can go to kundalinisafeties.com. And at the end of each of the pages, there's a little bit of writing, and you will see about making a donation. Click on that wording, and you will be brought straight into a donation. And the other place you can go to is the blog spots, I think they're called. Chrism has a few of them. So I'm going to give you one of them. It's www.chrism-kundalini.blogspot.com. And on the upper right-hand corner, there's a donate button. You just click on that, and again, off you go. So, please, I'd encourage you to donate if you can do so. And thank you for all previous donations, and thank you in advance if some are going to be made after the show today.
Agreed. And I echo those sentiments. Thank you. Now, some of you are on the groups, and I'm sure not all of you are on the groups, but some of you are on the groups. And lately, I've been posting about certain subjects. And one of the subjects I posted on this morning for me, here on the West Coast, California, Pacific Standard Time, was about having the old power leave you. And when you have the Kundalini begin its ascent inside of your body, the old power is literally the old self, the old soul, the aspect of you that has learned to survive on this world since birth. Okay, so the old person that has the perspectives of what it is to live in the society that you live in, what it is to survive the culture that you live in. How do you get around? How do you get food? How do you get clothing? How do you have security? How do you stay out of the rain? Where do you get your food, and how does everybody around you get the food? Things like that. Now, some of you who may be listening in India, like say way out into the Himalayas, however you like to pronounce that. I know it's a little different. We say Himalayas here, but I think other places say it differently. The more robust experience that you're having in the environment, the less opportunity you have, say, to go to a market or go to certainly like a shopping center that we have out here in the West. I know that Amelia has her own monogrammed parking spot in a shopping center called Tesco, and they gave her that because she was the one who shopped the most at Tesco, and they were so impressed with her shopping skills that they gave her that monogrammed parking spot. Congratulations, Santara.
Thank you, Kristen. Woo!
and so you not everybody has that opportunity. For instance, right before the radio show here, I had the two huge dogs with me, the dinosaur girls, in the van with me because I don't like leaving them in the house if I have to go out and do some errands. And I was in a Safeway, what we call a Safeway, which is kind of silly for name for a grocery store is really what it is. And what it is, for those of you that have never been into a grocery store is a big building with different aisles of different types of foods that are collected on either side of the aisle, and you kind of walk down the aisle and you pick out what you want to have, and they're either in cans or they're in boxes or they're if they're perishable, they have plastic wrap over them to keep them fresh, that type of thing, and that is what constitutes our market. That's where the grandmas go to feel the apples and buy the bananas and things of that nature for the family, and it's very different in the different societies how you allow your old self to express itself, and yet it is still an old self. It's that old self that has been programmed and taught to do things that the parents taught the child to do, and so on and so forth. And so these types of programming can go back literally thousands of years. People bring the goods to market, so to speak, and most of the world does an outdoor market. But in the West, like all across the United States, it's mostly the type of grocery stores that we have in the West here in the United States. It's that big building with rows and rows of food and different articles for a person to purchase. And the same thing is in Ireland. When I was fortunate enough to be able to visit with Amelia Santara Kundalini, she would take me to her favorite Tesco outlet, and we would, park in that golden parking spot there, and she'd take me to a movie because they have a cinema there, or she'd take me shopping, and we try to find organic things for the seminar, things like that. And it's a very interesting thing. It's very similar to what they have in the United States. Same thing with England. Same thing with France. When I was in France, they have these places that are like malls. What we call malls in the United States are an even bigger building than the grocery store. And inside of this huge building is a bunch of smaller stores. But it's out of the rain, it's out of the weather. You know, you can go there and get all of your purchasing done for the month or the week or the year, and you go to the different stores. And France has that, Germany has that, and it's, you know, it's very interesting. But the further east you go from France and Germany, let's say you get into Croatia or Bosnia, and I think Mostar in Bosnia is the furthest east I've been. There you have open markets. There you have the old style of market where people are outside, but there's like a tent or a covering over, and you know, that's more of the 10,000-year-old market style. And that programming is also considered the old self, the old part. And so as this old energy, there's all of this programming. Think about what I just went on and on and on and on and on about. And that's just one small fraction of the old programming, the old self, the old power that begins to leave you when the Kundalini comes. So as that old power leaves you, strand by strand, program by program, expectation by expectation, manifestation by manifestation, as it leaves you, the Kundalini fills you with the new energy of itself, the new energy that is not fixated on competition, the new energy that is not fixated on collecting things or having a strong level of attachment to the acquisition of physical items, the new energy of forgiveness, extreme levels of forgiveness, the new energies of tolerance, the new energies of love, the new energies of higher mental functioning expressions, the new energies of phenomena that defy scientific and physics-based expected outcomes. These are the areas that will begin to shift within the individual with the Kundalini, and it happens at different rates for each different individual. Some people will have it in their face really fast, and there's a huge jolt to the system, and the person is kind of left reeling in their shoes, and reeling means that they're left kind of unbalanced in their standing where they are, because the change is so fast and so furious. And others have more of a gentle, less vertical learning curve for them, and things will come, and they'll be given kind of an intuition on how to handle it and what to do and what it feels like and these types of things. And it's a different program of Kundalini infusion for each individual person, because we each come into this with different karma, as I've mentioned on some of the previous programs. It's very, it's very, very, very intimate. And I want to talk about that a little bit right now. The intimate aspect of Kundalini leaves you completely stripped bare of everything. You're stripped of your manifestations, i.e., your house, your car, your belongings. You're stripped of your emotional identification, i.e., how you feel about somebody else, how you feel about yourself, how you feel about life, how you feel about your job, how you feel about your family, how you feel about everything is pulled away from you, and you're left wondering how you feel about anything. And I want you to get used to that. I want you to embrace that naked you. And it's across the board naked. As your senses sharpen and the psychometric expressions begin to build. Psychometric. Going to be on your test at the end of the talk here today. So everybody write that down. Psychometric. So it's an aspect of psychometry. Psychometry is a divine skill that allows you to feel an object and feel anyone and everyone who has had physical contact with that object. So as your psychometric abilities begin to pronounce themselves or to express themselves through you, you won't be able to wear a certain kind of clothing. If you're wearing a T-shirt that's been made by slave labor, you'll not be able to wear it. If you're in possession of a blood diamond, you won't be able to hold it or look at it. You kind of get where I'm going with this. If you're reading a book that was, or walking on a rug barefoot that was put together by child slave labor somewhere in the Mideast, you'll feel the pain of that child. You'll feel the loss. You'll feel the loneliness. You'll feel the hurt. You'll feel the all of the perhaps horrible circumstances that child who is making that rug at the very same time, they're feeling these very, very coarse and difficult experiences. And this is from psychometry. And so as your psychometrical abilities begin to pronounce themselves or to bring themselves into your awareness, you won't be able to do some things. Matter of fact, the less adornment you'll want to have, the less of a level of fabric. It may be impossible for some of you to wear fabric very much. This is why in India you'll see a lot of these sannyasins or these sadhus. They first of all, they stay in the jungle. Number one, they do not stay in a house. They don't stay in a shack. They stay out there in the trees and bushes. That's where they stay. That's where they want to stay. They cover themselves with ashes, the ashes of fire, and so burned holy wood, and then they'll mix that with water and they'll pat that on their bodies. Matter of fact, something I did when I was visiting the Amazon because it keeps the insects off of you. But anyway, some of you will become very, very skin sensitive to the energies of what passes as clothing for us, what passes as appropriate levels of covering for us. And it can be very difficult for a person that is, within that type of an extreme experience to find comfort. Cotton, though, like even machine harvested cotton, that has a fairly neutral thing to it. So, we grow cotton down here in the United States, in the southern states of Texas and some, like Texas, Louisiana, Alabama, Georgia, some of those states in the southern belt, they still grow cotton, and that cotton, is used to make T-shirts. And so, I'm covered in cotton right now. And some of the synthetics, are okay as well. But, some of the more, some of the handmade things, like things that are coming out of China or India or Mexico, it's a harsh environment. Like the shoes, the Nike shoes or these types of shoes that are sewn by people that are, making 10 cents a day or whatever it is. That can be very, very, very upsetting as you feel the energies of the person that is working that sewing machine, that woman that working that machine. You can feel that through psychometry. And so as the Kundalini strips you of your comfort levels about these things, she strips you of your comfort levels, she strips you of your expectations and how you're expecting life to be. So you were raised by your parents to have a certain level of forecasting of how your life is going to go. I know with Amelia Santara Kundalini's children, they have to, they go through grade school and then they have this big test, right, Santara? They got a big test that all the parents have to give the kids answers to, right? It's kind of a test for the parents and the kids.
Yeah, that's an in-joke, guys. Kind of private.
Yeah, well, it's like you get to learn the new algebra, stuff like that. And that's put in there to kind of gauge the direction of that child's life, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like that in a lot of countries. You have this final exam, and that dictates what you can or cannot do in college, in university.
Exactly. Out here they call them the SAT tests, and that's what they call them in the States here. And if you score high on the test, well then a certain prestigious college will want you to come because they can see that you're open to having the higher concepts of scientific exploration or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And that gets taken away. Your focus on how you expected your life to become can be removed from you. And think about that now. Think about that for a second. Think about everything I've said, from the psychometry to the stripping away of your friends, your family, your relatives, your view on life, where you get your food, how you get your food, how you adorn yourself, what you wear, what you don't wear, and what you think, and what prognostication of your life that you may have had. Maybe you wanted to become a pilot, or you wanted to become somebody who a farmer or a teacher or any kind of profession, and all of a sudden that's kind of out the window. By out the window, I mean it's being removed from your understandings. It's being removed from your expectations. Your expectations themselves, of which that comprises this personal ideology. Oh, what am I going to be when I grow up? That whole expectation is being changed and transformed. And because of that change and that transformation, it too is being removed. Do you see the big deal this is for an individual? And these are just a few small things. This is just a scratch on the surface of the iceberg that comprises an individual. Are there any questions about this in the chat room, Centaur?
There is one question from Michelle. What does it mean when this happens?
What it means is that does she have something she's going to describe? I'm sorry, am I answering too quick?
No, she hasn't. But what's the next step? She says just now.
Well, the step is surrender to this. As this occurs to you, and as you're having these definitions that you once lived your life by, these programs, these stations, these manifested thoughts, these teachings of your childhood into your adulthood, and perhaps what you've taught your own kids, as you have the Kundalini come into you, and these start to be taken away from you, you go with that flow. You say, okay, Kundalini, you can have them. You can have them. I am yours to do with as you wish. I strip myself bare for you. I will not in any way block. I will give to you everything that I am. It's like that mantra we said at the seminar there in Minnesota. I give myself to you, my Kundalini. And that's not just, I give myself to you at 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. You can have 2 hours. Okay, and the rest of it, I do what I want. It's not like that. It's you give your entire self all of the time. all of the time. And if you have children, she knows you have children, and she knows she wants you to take care of those kids. So that's not a problem. If you have a mother that's depending on you, then you take care of mom, and or dad or husband or wife, dog, cat, parrot, goldfish. All of the responsibilities of life, to a degree, are to be taken care of, especially when it deals with life. And this includes your plants. But the expectations of your culture, the expectations of society, the laws of the land, and I hate to say it like this, but the laws of the land only apply to you as the Kundalini wants them to apply to you. It doesn't mean you go out there and you run through stop signs because the Kundalini didn't say, okay, well, you don't have to use stop signs. No. Because that's abrogating the safety of other people. Now, if you're in Ireland, then, of course, they don't have stop signs. So, I mean, it's not a problem.
They often don't.
They have roundabouts, which I think roundabouts are much better. They're more fun. You can just go. Yeah. I like to just go around and around and around in the roundabout. Just round and around. And
that has been done.
Yes, it has. They think I'm joking. But so, Michelle, speaking directly to you, it means a complete deconstruction of who you are. Complete deconstruction. You stop wearing the clothing that you wear. You stop wearing the makeup that you wear. You stop using the soap that you use. You stop drinking the fluids that you drink. You stop eating the food that you used to eat, and that old energy leaves your system, and you begin to be rebuilt from the ground up. Now, you're a ways into this, Michelle. You're a ways into this. The energy is communicating with you. You've got a very strong level of a good level of Kundalini working through you, and so now really you should just surrender completely, everything. Doesn't mean that you sell your car, you move out of your flat, and you live in the forest. Not that wouldn't be a good thing, mind you. That would be a good thing. But so many people here in the West don't have the knowledge, don't have the understanding, don't have the connection to the environment to be able to do that safety, and it becomes a big distraction for them as they try to survive in the forest. Like, say, in the Australian forest, I mean, most people will just last maybe a day before they're bit by a spider or eaten by a snake or torn to shreds by dingoes, or having their torso ripped apart by that huge torso on those big kangaroos, eaten by a great white shark, eaten by a saltwater crocodile. You know what I'm saying? It's like Australia is like this forbidden planet. It's just Shakti is very, very, very stern in Australia. But I look forward to visiting. I really do. Did she respond to any of that? I'm afraid to go over to the chat room. I'm going to do it anyway. Here, let's see.
No, she hasn't, Chrism. Here she goes. I went through this in the beginning of my activation, but now I don't know how I feel about anything.
See, now that's just it. I mean, think about what she just wrote there. I don't know how I feel about anything. I mean, if that is a true statement, I mean, and I'm not saying she's being untrue, but if that is a statement of truth from the Kundalini or caused by the Kundalini, one of two things are happening here with that statement. Either she's not sure that that she's still inside of that type of a extraction of old programming, or she's not sure that she agrees with what I'm saying, or she's or she's actually inside of the extraction of this programming and feels like she's entering this level of neutrality about everything, kind of like the space between the words, the line between I don't know how to phrase it, but the in-between spaces, waiting for the next step to occur as the old energy is extracted and the new energy comes in. There's that space where one is going and one is coming. And there's a space there where it's kind of like in a neutral space. Maybe she'll respond to that. I don't know.
She says, first of all, she agrees with what you're saying, and then she says, yes, that's it, exclamation, exclamation, exclamation. I'm in the space.
Yeah, and this is a space where kind of, it's before some of the great overlays of Kundalini, shall we say, engineering is pumped into your consciousness. You're left hanging from a tree limb, twisting in the wind, a pleasant wind, a nice wind. Not, it's not a cold, sharp, wind, but you're just kind of left there, totally surrendered, totally suspended and surrendered. The only thing holding you to this earth is what, Amelia? This will be on your test.
I failed. Sorry.
You failed? The only thing that's left, the only thing holding you there, literally, is that tree. And what is that tree? Well, the tree is that representation of Shakti, of the sacred mother, whose roots go deep into the soil. And she's holding you there. She has you affixed to one of her arms. And she's just giving you a breather between the two levels of understanding, between the two levels of infusion. Okay, she's letting you breathe, and she's letting you feel what it is to let go and surrender completely. And that is such an important place to be totally surrendered, to have no fear of what is coming, to embrace your Kundalini, to feel its force, feel its worthiness, feel its love, feel its divine imprint inside you all the time. And the tears that we cry during this really are detox tears. These are tears that are a result of the extreme purification that happens to an individual. And for those of you that are in Michelle's boat right now, really let yourself be purified. Cry, 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 and cry some more. Seriously. Let yourself sweat. Let yourself wail and weep and cry and drink lots of water and really purify the body, the 5-body system, the mental body, physical body, psychological body, emotional body, and spiritual body. Feel the purification of that 5-body system as it begins to open up to 100-body level of experience and interaction with the multiverse. Shakti has many, many arms. That tree that's holding Michelle up from that one branch, that tree has many branches. Each of those branches represents a plane of existence, maybe a world, an entire uh, school and compendium of experiences that each branch contains, each of the divine branches. This one, this school, this world is given for those who become divine flesh. Michelle right now is becoming divine flesh. She's in that process. That process is controlling her life, controlling her mind. The only thing that is stopping her are her fears. And this happens to everybody across the board. This is why I'm so adamant about what it is to be surrendered, to surrender yourself, surrender your mind, surrender your feelings in the heart, surrender the idea of ever having to feel embarrassed about anything ever again. That goes away. Surrender revenge. Surrender hatred. Surrender longing for anything. Open yourself to extreme levels of love that pulsates through you. Different rhythms of pulsations, but it's always a pulsation of love. It can be a pulsation of gratitude. It can be a pulsation of healing. It can be a pulsation of brilliance. It can be a pulsation of service for the environment or humanity and the environment or a huge level and diversity of gifts that can flow from the semi-divine individual. This is what Michelle is becoming. This is what Santara is becoming. This is what all of you hearing these words are becoming. Think about it. Let's go ahead and see if there are any questions that can be answered for folks that are asking them on the groups or to your private email.
Okay, Prism. The first one is to the private email for you. It says, I was addicted to alcohol 27 years, 1973 to the 16th of March 2001. When I quit alcohol on the 16th of March 2001, Kundalini awakened on the 4th of December that year. Is there any relation between addiction and awakening? Or is it...
Say again,
is there any relation between addiction and awakening?
Addiction?
Yes. Do I need to read it again? Or is it a karma story?
Read it again.
I was addicted to alcohol for 27 years from 1973 to 2001. When I quit alcohol on the 16th of March that year, 2001, Kundalini awakened on the 4th of December. Any relation between addiction and awakening, or is it karma story?
Well, the awakening can greatly reduce, if not totally obliterate, an addiction. So the awakening of Kundalini, as far as the relationship to addiction, Kundalini is anti-addiction, so it will remove addiction. You talk about some folks like a gentleman by the name of Sri Srikant. His Kundalini and with a little help from mine, helped him to take out a lifetime of smoking. so that he could, begin to restore his lungs. Kundalini will do that. Kundalini and ayahuasca, that shot of the Shakti that you can get through the ayahuasca, can also cure alcoholism or methamphetamine addiction or tobacco addiction. Any of these types of addictions, a lot of people are using ayahuasca to get rid of because of that very same concept of the Kundalini Shakti getting rid of an addiction. So what that person is describing, it sounds perfectly normal to me, that they would have that experience cold turkey in a way, immediately. And so, I tip my hat to that person too. That's really good. I'm glad to hear that for them. Over.
Thanks, Chrism. Okay, so after this, it's on the groups. What connects energy to the physical body? Is it nerves or liquid in the body? Any research on this? Just curious how this interaction is taking place.
All right, let me find that one. Because that's pretty involved. It's involved. It's written in a way that I Shakti wrote that one out. And,
I have it if you want me to read it.
No. Let me find it here.
Okay.
Probably. Oh my God! I've written so much. I know you're gonna get all the hard ones from you. Huh? Let's see. Well, you go ahead and read it then. Oh, I have it. Here we go.
Have you? Okay.
So this is it's held together by vibrational frequency, and vibrational frequency variations towards energetic and physical homeostasis. The connection is in the rate of energetic vibration. And these rates of energetic vibration pass through and merge through the energetics expressed by the body of light. Body of light would be the light the collective level of light that is emanating through all of your chakras. And we're talking about 27 trillion or more chakras. Okay, we're not talking just the 7. And as these vibrations merge through the energetics expressed by the body of light, they merge into, they become like that living plasma of light. They move through the layers and levels of vibration, which are transited through stepped down systems of density. So it's like an electrical system where the step down means the voltage is down. So you wouldn't use the same amount of energy for a hair follicle that you would use to grow a toenail. You wouldn't use the same amount of energy for a heartbeat as you would to blink an eye. And yet there's similar levels of energy. They're just different modulations of frequencies that allow this to occur. And so as these layers and levels of vibration are transited through step-down systems of density, they are diversified in such a way that allow the different systems of the body to accept, number one, to operate correctly within balanced parameters, number two, and to spread throughout the non-physical systems, the non-corporeal systems such as emotion. These energetics also interact with the body of the emotions and with the psychology. All 5 bodies of the human expression get this. And but the system, the physical system, is held together in such ways as are all other systems related to the corporeal life and its non-corporeal foundations. Over.
Thank you, Chrism. The next question. So, hi, Chrism. Since Kundalini awakened, there is a rush of energy to my head region, and it results in anger as this energy is not utilized. On full moon days and new moon days, rush is even more. I have started dancing, walking, and getting involved in a few activities, but the energy is underutilized. When the head region is filled with energy, the whole body feels weak and I am restless. Please suggest remedy.
Stop right there. This person this person hasn't lost enough of the old energy yet. They still have expectations about the appropriate use of this energy. And so their ego is determining whether or not this energy is used appropriately. And so they have not lost the old energy that thinks it knows better than the Kundalini itself. Oh, since I have all this energy in my head, therefore I must use all of it in a productive fashion that aligns itself with how I think things should be. And as they get closer to where Michelle is, where things are being pulled away, ideologies are being pulled away, this idea that we control the Kundalini is being pulled away. As that person begins to develop this understanding, and they themselves are connected to a branch on the tree of Shakti, they will struggle with this. This is this person's point of struggle. They think that they understand how the energy should be used. They think that they know. And I wrote to them and I told them I'd start volunteering. Give service where service can be given. Give service where it's needed. You know, if you want to consciously put the energy to use, then fine. Do it through the expression of the noble behaviors. Kindness, care, consideration, love, helpfulness, compassionate service. Do it that way. And this will eventually allow this person to come into a level of reception from their Kundalini that will inextricably begin to constrict their feelings of control over the energy. Constricted meaning to cut off that ideology and expectation that the Kundalini is just another form of electricity that we can use to turn on a light switch. It's not that way. So they will get there. They will get there. They're just at that space where they're beginning to approach the tree of Shakti. They can see the tree of Shakti off in the distance. They might see Michelle hanging from that one branch over there going, God, what is that hanging from that branch? with some sort of a weird Australian lizard trying to get at her feet. Maybe it's an iguana or a koala bear. Anyway, over.
Next question. Is it okay for me to use my spiritual gifts to support myself financially, specifically tarot reading?
That's between the individual and their Shakti. That's definitely, for me, I had the hardest time even taking donations. I was not, for the first, I think, 7 or 8 years, couldn't do it. Could not take donations. I could charge for the seminars, but devotion wasn't allowed. Donations was not allowed. I could cover the cost. I could cover the plane ticket, and I could have some money by virtue of the seminars, but the day-to-day teachings and charging people for Skypes and that type of a scenario was absolutely forbidden for me. I could not do it. It froze me up to even think about it. And then, the Kundalini comes along years later and says, okay, you have to allow devotion. Because, in all my seminars down in Los Angeles and in other places, I would not allow devotion to occur. That was not part of the seminar. But, a time came when she said that has to occur now. And I fought it, to be honest with you. I didn't want people doing that. And I fought it and fought it. And she finally said, it's not about you. It's about them and their relationship to me through you. And so then I had to do it. And I did the devotion. And from the devotion, I ran out of money, so I couldn't do anything. No seminars, no nothing. And then I was allowed to take donations. And then so, donations became okay. And it stayed that way to this point. And this is what, Santara does, every week, she'll say that donation query that she does. And this is how that came about, because, for the longest time, I wouldn't take it for almost, for a long time. I would say all the way up to 2011 or 2012. Was that right, Santara? You recall?
No, it would have been before then, Chrism, but before my time, I think, yeah.
Yeah, because the first time I met you was in 2010 in Brazil.
Yeah, and
so
2009 on the groups.
Yeah, for 5 years. Yeah, that's when all my money ran out, because I was spending the money putting those seminars together. And yeah, okay. Anyway, so this person wants to charge doing tarot. And as I clicked on their site, they want, they're all about their tarot. And, it seems to be more of a commercial enterprise for them. And they just wanted to feel if it was justified, because perhaps their Kundalini was giving them a question mark about their exuberance in turning their awareness towards, say, a personal profit. So, that's going to need to be between that person and that person's Kundalini. That's not something I'm going to make any kind of an accurate assessment of. Over.
Thank you, Chris.
What?
Okay, then. Sorry. Next question. Are you ready?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. How do you feel Kundalini within your body on a daily basis? I mean, out of meditation. For me, she is part of me every day. I feel her electric, warm, comforting energy through me in different parts of my body. Some days I feel her move active.
Just a second here. Get my headphones on here. I can probably hear you a lot better then. Just a second. Just a second here. Get the old Bluetooth thing going. There we go. Can you say something there, Amelia?
Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
okay.
6.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, so the person is speaking about how she feels or he feels the Kundalini within his body, and at times still shaken up by her while she is adjusting me, guiding me in the right direction. I've changed so much already and still feel change every day on a physical and spiritual level. So I suppose they're asking about feeling the Kundalini within the body, and how is that with people?
So he's wondering how it is to have Kundalini in the body?
Specifically, how do you feel Kundalini within your body and a day?
How do I feel with the Kundalini in my body on a daily basis outside of meditation, right?
Yep.
Oh. I've had this for, almost 28 years. It's constantly there. It's never not there. This is how I am now. I am merged in how does the yolk separate itself from the white in the egg? How is the sap separate from the wood of the tree? How is your blood separated from your flesh? I mean, it's never separated. I feel different surges every now and again. I feel like the other day I was Skyping with a person, and immediately, it was it for me to go into them, and my hands lit up instantly, and the energy was instantly transmitted thousands of miles to their adrenals, and their adrenals, were worked on, and this is a natural thing. This is as natural as combing your hair or blinking your eye. It just feels great. When, like, say, if I had a bad tooth the other day, and that felt absolutely devastating. That got amplified, and I was allowed to have that amplified, and so it can go the other way around for an individual as well. I mean, I want to be honest about it. It can be very, very difficult sometimes, but for the most part, it's a very convivial arrangement. It's extraordinarily humbling at the same time as it's extraordinarily uplifting for me, anyway. I constantly feel the energy that collects above the fontanelle. That's a constant thing for me. But I also feel it in other parts of the body all the time. You actually literally feel the radiance pouring out of you and into the surrounding environment. And it feels really good for the most part. 90% of the time, it feels really good. It feels as if you're here and not here at the same time. If you're dangling from the branch of the Shakti Tree, these things can be very, very heightened and increased than, say, when you come into a level of stability with it. But even within the level of stability, you're constantly expanding outward. That multi-directional expansion into multi-dimension is constantly occurring. When your consciousness moves through the consciousness of another creative life form, like a dog or a cat or a person or an entity, you can feel that. And depending on how that consciousness responds, typically it's good. But if it's an entity and say how do I say it? The response is not conducive, then the entity is either pushed aside by the energy, or the energy goes right through it without it being affected one way or the other. But that's dependent upon certain conditions. But it feels like you're a Christmas tree sometimes. Feels like you're a lit up Christmas tree. And other times, it feels like you're that same Christmas tree with snow outside. And sometimes it's a mixture of the two. Over.
Thank you, Susan. Next question. I've been practicing Vipassana meditation for the last 8 months every day for 2 hours a day. I start feeling electric sensations all over my body after 10 to 15 minutes of meditation, and my breathing rate increases and I feel like my body is being pushed upward. I also hear very strange sounds in my ear. I want to know whether it is somehow related to Kundalini, because my meditation teacher made no mention of Kundalini while explaining the progress of Vipassana, and I am a bit confused what to do.
Yeah, Vipassana can awaken the Kundalini, and they need to get a different Vipassana teacher. They need to get somebody a little bit more informed about what the effects of Vipassana can do. Just for those who don't know what Vipassana meditation is, it's like a 9-day or a 10-day Vipassana retreat where you go out and the genders are separated typically, and it's a vow of silence from the start. You do not talk verbally at all, and it's this form of meditation. For some Vipassana retreats, you go out and you sit next to a river or a creek, and you just meditate on the bank of the water, the flowing water. Other places you do it inside of a building, or but it's a constant level of meditation, a shared space meditation, and it can be very, very helpful for people. I don't have a problem with people that have Kundalini going into Vipassana. I know that it will nourish their Kundalini. So for those of you that have been interested in exploring Vipassana, go right ahead. But you can expect some Kundalini phenomena from it, like kriyas or whatnot, and those may be disturbing to the organizers of the retreat. It's just like the yoga thing, right? So you have the Kundalini, and you go to your local yoga studio, and you're down there, and you're doing downward dog, and all of a sudden she wants you to do the fourth Tibetan with animal noises. It's like Amelia does all the time, and so with the animal noise.
It has been known.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't have given that away. My apologies. So yeah, it's like barking like a dog doing the fourth Tibetan, and they'll look at you and they'll go, "Oh, maybe this isn't the place for you, sir. You'll have to leave now." This has been done. This happens to Kundalini people all the time.
It does.
Huh?
It does. I'm saying, yeah, it does.
It does. I wonder if Blondie has that experience. Your daughter, who teaches the Kundalini, I bet she wouldn't kick him out, huh?
Oh gosh, no, not at all. She would not. She hasn't had that experience yet, because I know she'd tell me. But she, yeah.
But students have had that occur, and so, it's so in the Vipassana thing. The Vipassana is very, very strict. It's you can't communicate with anybody, especially the person sitting right next to you. And so if you have excessive farting, like or you have like a kriya and it twists you up and you're making breaking wind noises, that's going to be disturbing to people, and they will kick you out. And typically those Vipassana retreats, they're not cheap, and so you want to be careful about kind of ask your Kundalini first if she wants you to go to a Vipassana retreat. If she wants you to go, then you can go, and you can rest assured, I think, that she will control the level of phenomena that you have, so that it won't bother other people around you. Over.
It's interesting because Blondie, if you call her, she'd kill you. But anyway, she only asked me 3 days ago about Vipassana. She just said, "Mom, I wonder will I do a Vipassana retreat?" So I just checked with her and said, "You mean
her.
you?
It'd be good for Blondie.
You be silent for 9 days." I think you'll have a breakdown. But anyway, yeah, she felt a pull to doing it, So I don't know.
I hope she does it. I think it'd be good for her.
Yeah?
I think
okay.
She could do it. Yeah, she could do it.
So moving on to the next question.
Okay.
I'm having a hard time with something. It has to do with forgiveness. I don't like to watch the news at all. It's so negative all the time. Even so, I often come across somebody who tells me about a story that aired recently. My problem is that sometimes I end up hearing about a story that I find horrific. Now, even if I say I forgive the offending party, I know it's not the truth and that I don't really feel that way. Cases, I don't want to forgive them, not even a little. I don't want to harbor ill, but I find myself truly angry at those people or person. For instance, when I hear about someone opening fire on children in elementary school, how do I work through that? I don't think I'm the only person that has the situation come up. Thank you in advance for your insight.
It's a process. That kind of forgiveness for turmoil that you don't have a direct hand in is a process that you have to forgive. I mean, geez Louise, I mean, were you able to forgive Alexander the Great for what his armies did? We all know that it was devastating. We all know that they did horrible, horrible things to each other. Okay? I mean, it happens all the time. This was a very, very violent world, extremely violent world. And it always has been. Okay? And so, because we're a violent species and we're a violent race, we have to dredge deep within our soul, within our heart and soul, and forgive the violence that is done. A lot of this violence is a manifestation of karma, debts that are being paid, and whether it's against children, whether it's against grandmas and grandpas, age of the human doesn't matter. What matters is your forgiveness of the violence that is occurring to any age of human. You must understand that most of the sleeping people are teenagers in adult bodies, and they go through a level of passionate excitation fueled from the male standard by testosterone and repressed sexual expression to a point where it can literally drive them crazy. So we change society and we change that level of violence. We change society and we change the level of atrocity that is occurring. But that just means that a country next, another country will adopt it. Now, if you look at, even though slavery still exists, and there are many forms of slavery, it's not as pronounced as it was 200 years ago. So societies can change, and the 100th monkey effect can take place in a positive fashion, whereas the societies change from having slavery, it becomes out of practice for slaves to be kept the way the Romans did, or where some of the ancient peoples kept slaves, or the ways of a couple hundred years ago in the United States, southern United States, using them as like slave labor, animal type of things. That has slowly shifted. And as that has shifted, a great level, even with that small shift, of enlightenment has been given onto this world, even though, yes, it still does occur. Human trafficking is still a big problem, but it's not acceptable anymore. It's illegal. And that in and of itself is a big step. And so you've got to process your forgiveness. You've got to reach for a deeper level of cross-cultural, cross-consciousness levels of forgiveness that you can do. You can do it. You just have to try. And you got to also realize that a lot of the people that commit these atrocities, like shooting up schools or shooting up theaters or cinemas or churches, These people are absolutely, completely, and totally possessed by demonic or really, really dark, angry spirits. And if science would just start recognizing Kundalini, recognizing the reality of malevolent, non-corporeal consciousness, that would go a great long ways for devising ways to keep people from, one, having that level of possession, or two, being able to alleviate that level of possession so those types of circumstances could not be created. Forgive the culture for allowing these atrocities to exist. Forgive the culture, i.e., the society, i.e., the population of people that have agreed upon moral ethics that allow these possessions to take place, because they refuse to reach outside of the box of their accepted paradigm. To reach outside of that box. They refuse to go beyond what the science of their culture says is possible or not possible. Over.
Thank you, Prism. That I'm just thinking about that. There was a few things came up for me. Okay.
That had me thinking about it too.
Yeah. I don't know if I can formulate a question or not. Give me
But that would be the last one. That's powerful.
I didn't hear that. You broke up. Okay.
I broke up.
Just for that sentence. Speak again. We do a testing.
Oh yeah. Okay. How am I doing? I did.
Oh, that's perfect. I hear that.
I checked back in the chat room. Looks like I can't look at the chat room and talk. I can look at it without talking,
really?
But I've got to come back to the studio to talk, it looks like.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah, hey, we gotta go with the flow.
Go with the flow. Okay.
Have you ever water skied, Santara?
No. Snow skied, yes, but not water skied.
When you water ski, and the water is like glass, it's literally like being pulled across a sheet of glass, and then you move towards the wake, just leaning a little bit and turning your ankles a little bit, and you move towards the wake of the boat, and you go over the wake, and then you're on the other side on this smooth, glassy water surface. And it's very smooth, but up ahead you see some ripples, say, from another boat. And the water gets a little choppy. And you just kind of have to adjust to that choppy water, and then it comes back to a smooth, glassy surface. It's like that with Blog Talk.
Thought you were talking about the Kundalini there.
You just got to go with the flow.
Yeah. The next one isn't a question, Kristen, but maybe your comment, okay? You posted a photograph of that Buddha head that you bring to seminars that you use to speak about the crown chakra and all of that. And there was a comment of the group, and your photograph is taken of the Buddha head on the ground. And somebody said if this is the Buddha head, you should never put it on the floor. It has to be placed up high to respect it according to tradition. And, how traditions are meant to show that Buddha was great. So your comment was you do not honor such tradition and that. Could you just comment on that, Kristen? Yeah.
I do not honor those types of traditions, because I don't see the ground as something bad. I don't see the ground as something disrespectful. I see the ground as being the nursery of our of our life, of our species. It's how we eat. It's how we survive. It's what we're composed of. We're composed of dirt and minerals and rocks and crystals, and this is our composition. It's like saying, holding the Buddha head in your hand is the same thing as putting it on the soil. And so for someone to come along and say, oh, you better not have that on the floor, it's being disrespectful to Buddha, I'm saying wrong. Taking it off of the floor is more disrespectful.
Yeah.
And as I responded to that gentleman, I said, this Buddha head will remain on the skin of the sacred feminine and enfolded in her flesh for as long as I have it. I have no problem putting the Buddha head on the floor. I have no problem putting my head on the floor. I don't raise a cross or a Buddha head or a pyramid or any kind of religious symbol or spiritual symbol over the foundations of grace with which this world is comprised of. I don't raise anything above that. I don't have that kind of thing. That the Kundalini, that's part of the old energy that got sucked out of me. I don't pray to a head. I use that head to demonstrate the crown chakras and the the energetic anatomy of the crown chakra. I don't use it to say, oh, look at the holy head. Let's all get on our knees and pray to that formation of plaster Paris and glitter. No, never have. I can't say I never have, but I haven't done that for years and years and years and years. I don't pray to a cross. I don't pray to plaster of Paris saints or, many armed figurines from India. I'll pray to a tree. I'll pray to Michelle as she's hanging from that branch there. I'll be praying for her. It's like, come on, Michelle, you can hang on there. I look with wonder. I have a lot of wonder, and wonder. The way I mean wonder is like, it's like when you've first seen a globular star system. So if you're looking through a telescope and for the very first time you see what a globular star formation looks like, your eyes are just wide with wonder. And I just kind of have that. When I'm shopping or just walking, I'm looking at the patterns that the grass makes, the sparkles in the sidewalk, the energy in the air, the geometrics of the traffic, the sounds, the smells, the sights, the feel, sometimes the telepathics, the nada, which I have all the time. All of these things coalesce inside of me as a form of wonder and a cause for wonderment. And this is kind of how I go through my life. And with the sacred, I like what the Buddha head represents as far as what it's showing, because I feel what the Buddha head is looking like. And so from that level, I see it as a very sacred representation of a real thing. But Shakti is alive. Shiva is alive. Kundalini is a living component of my life all the time. And I feel it all the time, as that one questioner asked, how does it feel? So I feel it all the time. And I never have to go to a certain place or look at a certain thing to be devotional. It's always there within me. It's always part of my inner dialogue, the devotion, the wonderment, the recognition of grace is always there. And so I never rely on a symbol anymore. Some symbols I like the Vesica Pisces I like, or the 12 moons of the Vesica Pisces that I posted. I like some things, like those really cool Irish Trinity symbols. Those speak Kundalini to me, and I like, but I don't pray to them. I just like them. I feel attracted to them. You understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely, yes. Are you asking me?
Well, Tika's still sleeping, so I'm not answering her.
It might have been to everybody, people, do you hear me? Yeah, of course I do. Yeah, I would be very similar to that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
Is there
Will I
no
move
sound?
on?
Did somebody say there's no sound? Check again, please. Do a sound check. Is there no sound?
Oh, one.
You're not.
Hello,
You're
checking.
not checking the chat room. You should be totally on the chat room.
Actually, interestingly enough, the chat room has vanished from my thing. How did that happen?
Well, that's no good.
Wow, 1 second, I'll set it up again. That just went all on its own, the usual. 2 seconds, let me launch it. I was obviously logged out of the chat room for some reason, Prism. It's loading again.
Don't log yourself out of the chat room. If I can't see it, we need to have somebody there watching it.
I didn't log myself out. That's what I just said. It did it itself.
Yeah. Anybody answering? Or, geez, I wonder when it stopped.
I have sound. Well, somebody says I have no sound. Were you reading that? Maybe you... Anyway.
Can you read the chat room, maybe? I mean, just read it yourself?
Yeah, you typed something there, though. That's what happened. You logged me out. Yeah, they have sound now, Prism.
All right, ask them where it cut off. What was being said? Or I guess they can hear that.
That was just one person. Let's just move on, Prism.
Oh, I see. Okay. Thank you, Kundalini O, for suggesting they either update or refresh their thingamajig.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead. Ask the question.
Okay. Next question. Interesting sleep last night during my dream state. I dreamt of being struck by lightning 3 times while driving my car. During the dream, I could feel sensations in my ears. It wasn't scary. I did wake up feeling energized. After waking, my first thought was Kundalini reworking my nervous system and raising my vibrational frequency. So so do you want to comment on that? It isn't a question, really.
It isn't. No, it's a statement. I don't disagree with it.
Okay.
I don't disagree with that at all. But I do want to say one thing to the people in the chat room and some other people. If you access through Google Chrome, Blogspot seems, the blog, the Blog Talk Radio likes that one a lot better than, say, if you're using Firefox or something like that. So I'm on Google Chrome right now, and it, it's working to some degree, but that's what Blog Talk Radio suggests is Google Chrome. So if you have that browser, either next week or sometime, you might want to give yourself that option. Over.
3 visible entities that I saw in my house, and they were just staring angrily until I commanded them to leave. What's your take on what was happening? Is it something to do with Kundalini energy?
Well, first of all, I think it's a very positive thing. I think it's a positive thing that the person's able to see entities trying to scare him or not. I think that's definitely a gift. I think that is, there's a couple of things going on there. The fact that he saw the entities, number one. The fact that he wasn't afraid, number two. The fact that he commanded them to leave, number three. this all is describing an individual with an awareness and a lack of fear about such things, which would typically really petrify other people, and but not this person. And so I think that as far as within the Kundalini context, showing no fear is a very positive thing when you're encountering entities that are there to scare you. And as you're not afraid of them, you say, get the heck out of the house. And they leave. I mean, well, you're probably not going to have that problem with too many other ones until they can find some area in your life that frightens you, and then they'll try to use that as a way of getting to you that way. So from a Kundalini point of reference, the lack of fear and the willingness to confront an infliction of terror is a very positive thing, and I think they're doing great. I hope they continue. Over.
Willingness to confront, Chrism, is that a contradiction to no communication or
inflicted terror? Did you hear that?
Willingness to confront inflicted terror. I'm asking you the question, the fact that they commanded them to leave, is that a communication? I mean, is that something one should do or not?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, telling him to leave is not exactly saying, oh, hey, let's sit down and have some tea.
Okay.
Which could also work because it's also not responding in fear. If he had responded in fear or cowered down, they would have consumed that fear energy, and they would have, tried to grow more ferocious and more terrifying and try to control the person based upon his fear. But he didn't have any fear, so they didn't have any reason to stay.
Cool.
So it's a good thing. It's a good thing if it works.
Thanks,
now, Kundalini won't always let that work. Now, your entity, let's just use your entity, Centaur. Your entity was very, very different. You could have told that entity to leave till the cows came home, and it would have still been there. Am I right?
Totally. I wasn't fearful of it, but it wasn't leaving. No, you're right.
Right. It wasn't leaving. Okay, and so these are two very different types of entities. Okay. One is there for a higher level of corruption. Another, this person's entities were there just to scare, just to terrify the individual. Maybe that person later on in their Kundalini experience will have a stronger corrupting type of entity experience, and hopefully they'll know about the crucible of reversal. And do as you did, and be able to extract some of the elements of that entity from your daily interactive experience.
Hello, yeah, okay.
Are you there?
No more. Yeah.
Are
no
you
more
like
questions,
sleeping?
Chrism.
Are you falling asleep?
No, are you? No.
I know it's
Stay
late
over.
over there.
Stay over.
Sorry.
I never know if you're going to. If you're finished.
I didn't stay over. So, Roger that.
Roger that. Okay. That's it, Chrism, and we're done there. Just checking the chat room. You two. Who's Kundalini Awakening again? Okay, so there's a question. Can entities make us do bad things, bad habits,
Oh, yes, that's what I was.
Time.
That's what we were talking about when we talked about people shooting up cinemas or shooting up churches. I mean, they can make us do very, very, very bad things. They can make us become criminals. They can, make us, eat 3 cakes in one night. They can make us do all kinds of really terrible things. I mean,
That was pre-entity. But Chrism, not all. That was pure. Anyway, never mind. That not all entities, or at least not all, will say horrific situations are entity-driven either, are they? I mean,
Not all of
entity
them.
can't.
But I would have to say that there's always going to be an entity influence for horrific things somewhere along the line.
Okay.
This feeds the violence of this planet. This creates karma, and this planet really is all about creating karma and redeeming karma. That is the rock polisher that we're all in. And the rock and the rough patches on the gravel that we throw into that rock polisher is karma. And the more we redeem the karma that we create, the greater the luminosity of the gemstone that eventually occurs.
So let's say if you were to bring it down, Chrism, from, we'll say, enormous acts of horrendous violence, as we were discussing, if we bring it down, say, to domestic violence, would that be entity-driven?
Or fully involved in domestic violence. Fully.
So are entities involved in all violence, Chrism?
All violence, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Now, but you don't want to compare, like, say, what you see in the predatorial world, or like the Native American shooting a deer and then going and saying a prayer over the deer and saying, your spirit goes to the great spiritual oneness, but your flesh comes with us and you live with us in our community. That's a different deal.
But that's not violence.
That's survival.
Yeah. No,
So
I'm talking about violence.
Your definition of violence is what needs to be really, focused.
Yeah. I'm talking violence of people.
Domestic violence is violence. War is violence. These types of things are violent. And these are the types of things that have...
Well,
last
can
word?
I just make... Yeah, and do we have time? We have still a few minutes. Like, I see a difference between domestic violence...
Seconds.
3 minutes here. Let's
44
test it,
seconds
okay?
here.
3 minutes, 23 seconds here.
38
okay,
seconds
I won't ask. I'll bring it up some other time. Go.
Right.
I've no final words.
Okay, all right, everybody. Thank
12.
you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you for putting up with some of the technological issues. We'll see you next Wednesday. Thank you, Amelia Santara, for your beautiful, beautiful gift of this program to the populations. And here we are. We'll end it as we started.